We've got a very interesting panel today over here, and we're going to really talk about from an angel perspective as well as from a investor and an operator perspective as to how dark kitchen models are really looked at and are going to be looked at in the coming times. So let me start with Shanti. Shanti leads LetsVenture, which is the angel platform, and today probably going forward she's going to move a lot of angel investments into dark kitchens and all the infrastructure related to it. So Shanti, let me ask you this. Today, when dark kitchens is becoming the go-to space, and the opportunity, I would say, has just started. It's really, sometimes they say it's just the tip of the iceberg. I don't think we've even touched that yet with dark kitchens. So, do you see currently an opportunity of investing in dark kitchens as a business format? Has any sort of models been sort of thought of, or have any sort of concepts been approaching you for dark kitchens to raise investments, and how are you evaluating them?
So just to quickly give a background on LetsVenture, just for people who don't know, we are a marketplace and we connect startups to investors. So we have investors from 55 countries on the platform. We have 6,500 investors. We have about 35,000 startups. So coming to dark kitchen, I think with the Swiggy and the Zomatos, with the distribution models being kind of there already, right? Because I think that is the more challenging part of the business in terms of how do you reach your customers. So look at it more as like the distribution infrastructure in place. I think there is a huge opportunity for the cloud kitchens or the dark kitchens, as you are kind of calling it here, because that allows a lot of aggregation of local food and local talent, right? And I think at the end of the day, I believe that food is still local, right? So you might want to talk of scale, but I think the combination of scale with the combination of it being local, I think will still continue to be a challenge. That is one. Second is, I think food is still very closely related to health. And I think with the higher awareness of health, I think the quality of the dark kitchens, of how do you moderate quality, how do you offer something that is trusted by your users, will actually become the next kind of big questions to answer. And I think if somebody is able to bring that together in terms of creating an aggregated platform for trust, for kind of distribution, right, as well as to kind of build the brand around it, I think that would become a good investable model. It is still infrastructure heavy. I think this is like a combination of asset light versus somebody managing the infrastructure. So then I believe this is still a complex space. It is just the beginning.
It's evolving,
but it is an evolving space, and I think there's a huge opportunity for people who don't want to do a lot of customer front-ending, right, to actually go piggyback on the model of a dark kitchen.
Right. Yeah, thanks for that. Sam, let me come to you. Now, Sam also runs restaurants in New York, and as an investor today, that he's come here to this forum, dark kitchen started way ahead in the US before it did in India. While we're not too far behind, it's almost like the same time. But how do you see the space out there in the West when it comes to dark kitchens? And if you were to make a comparison and some learnings coming from the West market to India, what would they be for you?
Good morning. Yes, it's true that dark kitchens, I think dark kitchens started about the same time. Yeah. In the US as it's here. Now, as you would expect, it started first in the busiest cities like New York and San Francisco and so forth. It's driven slightly by different set of inputs. Restaurants became untenable. I think over 700-800 restaurants have shut down in New York City in the last 3-4 years, since minimum wages are going up. So eating in restaurants is becoming expensive, and operating restaurants become very, very expensive. Like here, it's not like it's operating restaurants are becoming more affordable here.
Yes.
But people's times are getting compressed, so dark kitchens have come up. What is happening in dark kitchens, which I've seen quite a bit there that's coming here, is the point that you mentioned. At the end of the day, we all wake up, we work hard, we do all this to fill this about 6 inches here. We all talk about dieting, running, burning those calories, but we want to eat, right? So that is always going to be there. The question is, how do you meet that demand? How do you meet it in a dynamic, flexible way, but consider it a segment of one? Each person has got their own. We are from Palakkad. We like our food. Somebody else may like their food from Kanpur, whatever that may be. So the thing is, specializing unique cuisines. Number 2, how do you scale it within that? Number 3, how do you make it affordable? Number 4, how do you deliver? With all this Zomato, Swiggy, and all these guys, individuals like me, I built a restaurant in New York City. You can become your own warrior because someone else is fighting your battle. After you get your bows and arrows, after you prepare the food, someone can help deliver it. Now, so if you have the skills to organize, as Aditya would definitely tell us later, it's not about being a fancy chef. It's about productizing it and scaling it, which is ruthlessly hard. So what we're seeing in the US and in Europe is specialization of these foods, productization of these foods, moving more healthy, standardized, and getting influencers to push those things, influencers, and they are becoming an important part of scaling. But overall, what I'm seeing is scale of each brand within a dark kitchen is not enormous.
Yes.
But a portfolio of brands, like if you take a Procter & Gamble or Unilever, they have a portfolio of brands. In the future, I'll see dark kitchens, massive dark kitchens have 20, 30, 40 brands within them. Each one alone will not be a 250 crore sales, but together they will be, and they'll use one infrastructure, one set of management, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a trend happening. Even though people like Maple and Spruce have all, Sprig have all died or suffered in America, the new genre of them are coming up, more nimble, cheaper to operate, using more technology.
Sure, yes. Great, Sam. Let me come to you, Aditya. Now, you're the advisor and investor in FreshMenu, and probably FreshMenu was the first dark kitchen we ever saw in India in a more formal avatar, I would say. So how did you zero down at that point of time on the opportunity for FreshMenu? And why did you think that healthy food was probably the way to go?
Yeah, so the reasoning was very clear. 5 years back, having evaluated probably 150 restaurant businesses, I also realized that nobody's making money, right? And the big costs are rentals and people costs. And most of the restaurants are still spending a lot of things in the capex, the front end part, right? So to make it look beautiful, because the entire philosophy was that people come here to have a good time. So in India, there are 2 ways to do entertainment. You go to a restaurant, go to a theater. Unfortunately, we are not some of those guys who will go out and do a run, and we are far away from that. Now, so people would spend and make it look nice, but that would mean that your paybacks you're not there. Now, so I started working, backward from it, right? So I said, okay, fine, let's take away the rental costs. The only way to do it is, to go to somewhere in the back or beyond where, I don't need to take a prime location. Let's take away the front of the house costs in terms of operations. Let's take away the, the fancy interiors cost. So then, when I did it this way, this is what was the origin of Cloud Kitchen. So I never called it Cloud Kitchen and, the dark kitchen and the light kitchen. For me, it was a kitchen. And there was a brand which was trying to provide consistency and comfort because the customer anyways can't see it, right? So, what's happening. But the fact is, while we believe that, restaurants, give customers more comfort, the customers are not, going in your kitchen in a restaurant, checking how you cook, right? So you still have to build that trust through the taste, service, and, the brand name itself. And that was the origin of the entire idea. Now, why did we do healthy foods? Okay, so today we live in a market where, whether we like it or not, I would want to say that we live in a market of distorted economics, right? Who's making money, who's losing money is all questionable. And I don't think that this can last forever. As an investor, there is a cycle, maybe another 2 years, 6 months, 1 year, I don't know. But at certain point of time, it will become logical. And 5 years back, what I'd figured out was that, there is going to be a delivery cost for it, and there is going to be a packaging cost to it. And the only cuisines that, could really cover for that were the fancier food items. So when we went fundraising, multiple investors, told us, why don't you do dal roti? That's what sells in India. You can't sell pasta home delivered. It's not possible, etc. But, pricing it at 250 rupees at that point of time, 5 years back, was the only way to make money. That's the conclusion we came to. We started with the idea that we have to be profitable. And obviously, I can't give you dal chawal at 250. Right. So I'm forced to make, something which is higher end. And that's the reverse logic we followed, that we will do this. So for many, for almost like, I think year and a half, 2 years, we never had any Indian portion in the menu. We only did Western, because Indian customers can pay more for the Western than compared to when you compare it with the Indian.
Sure.
Right? And even when we do Indian, we're still trying to be on the higher side of the Indian cuisine. We are not doing the dal roti. But that's the only way customers will pay. And that's what makes money.